Imagine living 1,000 years ago. No pads, no tampons, nothing. Now imagine going about your day every month for decades. What would you actually do? Today we've got pads, tampons, cups, and every kind of product you can imagine. But what did women do for the thousands of years before any of this existed? The honest answer is fascinating and a little wild. Get this. The first modern pad you can actually buy in a store didn't exist until the late 1880s, when Johnson & Johnson started selling disposable ones in America. That's roughly 140 years ago, which means for pretty much all of human history, women had to figure this out with whatever they could find. And honestly, they got creative. Let's go all the way back. The oldest written record we have about how women handled their periods comes from ancient Egypt, over 3,000 years ago. Egyptian women used something called papyrus. It is the same soft, grass-like plant they used to make paper. They would soften it, roll it up, and use it kind of like an early version of a tampon. The Egyptians actually treated periods as something spiritual. They believed menstruation was a form of cleansing, connected to the goddess Hathor, the protector of women. So it wasn't shameful, it was sacred. Then over in ancient Greece, women went for something completely different. They used sea sponges. They'd take a small piece of natural sea sponge, soak it, and use it exactly the way tampons are used today. Simple, absorbent, honestly kind of genius. Some Greek women may have also used tiny wooden sticks wrapped in cloth, kind of like early tampons. But historians still aren't sure whether those were actually used during periods or for something else entirely. Then came the Romans. And the Romans loved wool. Wool is actually the second most absorbent natural fiber in the world, after cotton. Wealthy Roman women had wool pads specifically cut and stitched for menstruation. Poorer women just tore up old clothes and made their own. But here's where the Roman story gets darker. The Romans had wild superstitions about menstrual blood. They genuinely believed a woman on her period could kill plants just by looking at them, sour the crops, dull mirrors, drive dogs mad, even rust iron. Because of these superstitions, women were often banned from entering temples during their periods. They were considered too dangerous to be near the gods. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Japanese women had a much simpler solution. Rolled paper, clean, easy, though probably not great for heavier days. And going even further back, in prehistoric times, women likely just used whatever nature gave them. Moss, bark, grass, animal skins, wool from wild sheep, basically anything soft enough to absorb. But here's the thing most people don't realize. For most of human history, most women just bled into their clothes, into loose undergarments, if they had any, or into folded rags they could wash and reuse. That's actually where the phrase "on the rag" comes from. Real rags. Real cloth. Washed and used again and again and again. For years. Now, if you think all of this sounds hard, wait until the Middle Ages, because that's when things got worse. With the rise of Christianity in Europe, periods stopped being sacred and became something shameful, something dirty, something to hide. Women were expected to say nothing, do nothing, and quietly pretend it wasn't happening. Many wore small bunches of dried flowers, called nosegays, tied around their necks or waists just to hide the smell. Some even tried strange medieval remedies to slow their flow. One of them even involved powdered toad. The taboo lasted for centuries. It wasn't until the very late 1800s, right around World War I, that modern sanitary pads finally started to appear. And here's the wild part. That happened almost by accident. Nurses on the battlefield noticed something. The wood pulp bandages they used to treat wounded soldiers were incredibly absorbent. Way more absorbent than cloth. So they started using the leftover bandages during their own periods. Companies noticed what the nurses were doing. And that's how the first modern sanitary pads were invented. Which means the pads and tampons we take for granted today, they're only about 100 years old. For most of history, women were figuring this out with papyrus, sea sponges, wool, moss, and rags. quietly, privately, without any of the comfort we take for granted now. Not because they wanted to, because they had no other choice. Subscribe for more real history nobody tells you.